Hello, everybody. This is the Aquarian Medium coming to you from the hills of Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss Saturn and Pluto going direct. What does this mean, Saturn and Pluto going direct? Well, Saturn goes direct today, is direct today on the 10th, October 10th, 2021, and Pluto went direct just a few days prior on October 6th and 7th, depending on where you are located. So, to have one of these planets go direct is one thing, but to have them both going direct within just a few days of one another is a pretty big deal. It really is. So let's discuss what this actually means for humanity right now. Let us start with Saturn. Saturn is a Roman pagan god. Saturn rules the 10th house of Capricorn in astrology. It is symbolized by the goat or the scapegoat. It's all things pan, like Pandora, pandemic, pandemonium, etc. Saturn's also symbolized with the bones of the earth. So it's about structure, it's about responsibility, it's about fame and fortune, the father of time. It's a feminine earth cardinal energy, meaning there's a lot of initiating energy, this action that goes into the 10th house. So some of us would have a career, fame, fortune. That is what symbolizes that 10th house. In the tarot, Capricorn is the devil card or the number 15. In numerology, 15 is 1 plus 5 equals 6. So it's the number of man. It's man's enslavement with his desires. It symbolizes the root chakra as well. So it brings conscious raising kundalini experiences that are called colostrum, as it secretes an oil once a month in your body, which the ancients called the Christos or the Christ. It is the Christ consciousness. Saturnalia stole time. Stories from the Greek mythos, such as the god Kronos. The pagan celebration of Saturn used to be and still is a week-long celebration. This is the holiday of Christmas or the Christ Mass. Kronos, whom the Romans replaced with Saturn, was a Titan Greek god who fathered the first generation of Olympians known as Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. Kronos is thus the higher octave of Saturn that dissolves authority in astrology. In the Greek mythos, Kronos represents the chronological time. He devours his children except for Zeus, who symbolizes the magnetic field. Zeus sewed Dionysus to his hip. That is the story. It symbolizes a field of magnetism, the Taurus field, and the pattern of man is Dionysus. This represents man throughout all of time. It is the pattern of man and the magnetism of the Christ consciousness throughout all of time. How we as a collective use time has changed over and over and over again. As we use and are used in and with time, our lives here in the physical is limited with time. Pluto rules the 8th house of Scorpio in astrology. He is the Greek Hades, the unseen. As already discussed, Pluto, or Hades, is the brother of Zeus and Poseidon, fathered by Kronos. Remember, they had 6 kids. So this archetype of the underworld was Latinized, creating the Roman equivalent Dispater, whose name means rich father. Pluto is also identified with the Roman god Orcus, the god of the underworld. In the tarot, Pluto, Scorpio, is represented with the death card. It is the number 13. So it's 1 plus 3 equals 4. It reminds me of the 4 seasons, all things 4, including the dog star. And of course, the dog represented in a mirror would spell God, not dog. Pluto, Hades, took Persephone into the underworld. This also symbolizes Venus, who follows the sun for 3 days into the underworld. Pluto thus represents the duality of the world, the number 88 we find ourselves in, which is mirrored. The polarities mirrored eventually dissolve and merge differences. Pluto in the 8th house of Capricorn and Saturn in the 11th house of Aquarius were last here at the 24th degree with Pluto and the 6th degree with Saturn in February 2020 for Pluto and February 2021 for Saturn. So you can reflect back at that time and see what changes were beginning to take place for you and for the collective. So if you have any degree points with 24 or 650 into the sevens, these are the transitory archetypes that were pushing forward with attitudes and behavior. It was bringing major transformation during this time. Limits and obstacles for the future are going to bring and are bringing responsibility with new structures. So death, rebirth, and regeneration must take place. Here are the transits for the morning of 10/10/21, so October 10th, 2021. These are the transits. You can see here in the 3rd house, Pluto is at 24/19, and right next to Pluto is Saturn. Saturn is at 652, and there is an S, meaning it is stationing direct, ready to go forward into the future and discover new ways, new structures, how we use our time with our death, rebirth, regeneration that has taken place, this Kundalini rising, this big, great awakening for humanity. It's a great time, guys. It really is. Even though there is so much change in the world, change is necessary for evolution. And with each evolution brings revolutionary times and revolutionary spirits into the earth realm. So basically, we are talking about the 8th, the 10th, the 11th house in astrology. So we've got death, rebirth, regeneration, this Plutonian energy that we are mastering at this time, because Capricorn is a mastery sign. It is about structure and responsibility and how we use our time going forward in the future. Saturn represents the governing body, so there's a lot of transformation taking place. And of course, with the Pluto return, we are going to see a complete death and rebirth and regeneration of the United States, of our monetary system, what it is that we truly value here in the United States. And, you know, we are the leaders of the world. And so everything that happens here is definitely important across the globe. We've got so many changes that are taking place. And like I said, change is so good. Change is a beautiful thing when you are trying to grow and evolve. And of course, you know, we do have to consider that there is, in fact, a God, and there is a Christ consciousness. I read this chart. I've telepathically written about this chart and his story, which I will be doing a video series. And I'll be reading the book where you don't even have to purchase it. You can just follow along and read along if you'd like on YouTube, and eventually I will publish it. So as long as we are doing God's work is done. Everything is about God's work. And this is a sacrifice. Every time we come to earth, we sacrifice for other people, for the greater good of humanity. And we are here to witness the great changes of mankind. And there is a consciousness, there is a collective consciousness that is rising within all of us, that has given us strength and courage to maintain ourselves and to go forward into the future without the things that are just really weighing us down, that are keeping us in a bondage, in a slavery type of system. That type of slavery system is not going with us into the future. You can bet on that. So there's so much change that's going to be taking place. You know, in astrology, we can try to predict what the energies are going to do. But let me remind you guys, you know, when the flood took place at my cabin, I was wanting all my friends to observe the Neptune being at the same degree, the Neptune in Pisces being in the same degree as the United States Neptune.
at 22:35. And what it did is it definitely gave me a front seat to being an observer as the flood hit the cabin as well as Waverly, Tennessee. And then as an observer, when Saturn came into the same degree as my Neptune in Sagittarius, my father had trouble getting to me, and I had trouble getting to Nashville that day because Saturn, being in the same degree as my Neptune, it was in the same degree of my Neptune in the 6th house, of Scorpio, and that Neptune is in the sign of Sagittarius. So what happened was a bee got in my car and stung me a few times before I had to pull over and get the bee out of my pants because it had went through a hole in my pants. So, you know, the limits and obstacles that day of traveling could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse than just a bee sting. So, you know, we can try to predict and play around with the energies and have fun analyzing and thinking of ways that they can manifest themselves in expression. But God is always in control. God is definitely always in control. You know, in astrology, we don't worship the stars. We don't worship the stars. We read archetypes. We read behaviors and attitudes. We read the energies. We do not worship stars. All right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys again really soon. If you like the video, please like it, subscribe, share, hit the little bell so you can be notified when my videos become available on YouTube. All right? Until next time, we'll see you guys. Peace.